looking specifically at the restart plan. It's been a journey, and let's not forget that this is probably a longer term thing than a shorter term thing. That's what I've been going through with most of my experience group, and it's great that we've had new people joining up to the experience group when they realise that probably they need us more than ever before. Again, we make differences to businesses and photographers' lives, and people who are looking for another chance of a different career and so on with it. We're used to, whether it's a startup or a rescue. We very seldom get businesses in build mode. It's used, in other words, they're in the middle of business and it's all good and everything else, and they just want to take it to the next level. Often it's kind of beginning from scratch, or it's in rescue plan. But anyway, the sessions that we've been doing have all stemmed from session 1, where we asked the question, how do I survive the shutdown and what do I do on restart? And I will still point you back to that very first session we did. It's on the Photographer Academy, so you can go back and rewatch that. But we talked about things to do there and then, and basically make sure that you're on a plan of things to do. So we're in technically week 9 of the experience group's lockdown. Obviously, some are based in England, so there's some loosening of things there as well. However, we're still continuing on with our kind of plan. We've had to push through a few of the extra ones because we didn't expect to actually hear that England was semi-open for business, as it were. But those are the kind of things that we're going to be touching on a little bit today in these. But we've had a structured plan of things for them to be doing each week since lockdown, and it's been a tremendous success in so many ways for those who actually applied. So really pleased about that. But we were asking you in week 1, in other words, you guys decided to come here to listen in to what we're advising you to do. It means that you guys need to actually apply some of the advice that I'm giving you. So I asked you to talk about you and your business, to contact your past clients, engage with past clients in a different way, find a possible new audience ready for restart or the future beyond restart, grow longer branches to your tree, in other words, be a little bit more flexible and actually grow the business in a different direction, and diversify you and your business a little, and along the way add in new skill sets and everything else with it. Predominantly, we've been adding more and more Photoshop films to the Academy that were scheduled months away actually during this time. So instead of the usual 3 films a week, you've been getting close to actually 5 or 6 films from us and things really, and I've kind of upped the Photoshop kind of platforms as well for you to actually really add those new skills in. So once again, if you haven't looked at part 1, go backwards, watch it through, apply it. It's not too late to make a difference, I promise you. So today we're talking we've got quite a lot to cover, in fact. And in a normal world, if you were in the experience group, we've been tackling this for the past 9 weeks now and things really in different ways and so on. There's going to be a few questions that will only be able to be answered by you and your family, of course, let's not forget that. And there will be other things that you need to address within the business to make the decision to really actually either operate at full steam or at a totally different kind of running platform with it. So the first thing we're going to be covering are, when should I open my business now? What will people think if I do? And will clients have the confidence in the new now? We're going to be covering that first, and then we're going to go on to the other sections, okay? So when should I reopen? Well, if you're in England and you have to acknowledge that doors are still firmly closed to all studio premises, whether operating from home or on the high street, but technically you are shut. But if you are going out onto location, your door has been wedged open a little bit for you, and it will only be to you whether you want to actually do it or not. Last week, obviously, following Boris's, our Prime Minister in the UK, announcement to basically go outside, as it were, there was a slight awakening of the dormant element to photography, and a slight kind of awakening if you wanted to and things. But when should I reopen is only a question that you can answer, nobody else. And I'll ask you one thing: don't listen to anybody. You listen to your heart, you listen to your head, and you listen to your family. Do not listen to other photographers under any circumstances, because they will have their own mission, they will have their own plan, they will have their own goal, and they might be recommending for you not to reopen until X because it fits well with them. And you are not them. They don't know your circumstances, you don't know theirs. They might have a second income coming through from a pension of something else. They might be fully fit and well and not in a kind of a fragile age group like me. But as far as when should I reopen, please promise me one thing: that you are the only one who's going to listen to you. Nobody else is going to influence you into telling you what to do or when to do it and whatever. You have to make that decision. I want to open for business now. If I was the only way for me to explain this is if I was a photographer in England. I'm not, I'm in Wales, and we're shut down for at least another 10 days. If I was an English photographer, even with a studio, I would be open for business on location as we speak. I am not looking for discussion on it, because I don't need discussion on it, because I am going to follow the letter of the law. It means that I can photograph this woman and her horse, but I can't photograph this woman and her husband and this horse. Simple as that. I can't photograph children. Why? Because they'll need an adult with them. So that I'm going to have real restrictions if I'm working on location, but there are some restrictions that are not really there. They're actually, there's an invisible barrier that you choose to put up between you and it. But the easiest way for me, like I do with my experience group, is I give them Mark's opinion. In other words, if I was in your position in England today as a portrait photographer, I would be operational. What will people think when I open? Okay, so the first thing is, what will people think when I'm shooting on location and basically they're not? That's their problem, not mine. And that's what I said, I can't listen to them. I can't worry about that they're not being a photographer. They've made that decision. They might have family issues. They might have several things that are stopping them from doing it, as well as their heart and their head is telling them this is not safe for me, or not safe for my clients, or not safe for my family. Whatever reasons there is, there's something that is stopping them from doing it. But what people think, I'm not interested in what other photographers think. I'm interested in what clients think. So in fact, last week we kicked off within the experience group the very first of our reopened focus groups, and we had 10 prospective clients online sharing with us through questions that we were asking them how they felt and actually what they would think about reopening, and so on and so on. And that's very important for me. I spent too much of my early career listening to the bullshit coming out of other photographers' mouths, and they weren't on the same mission. So I had the goals and the dream to be successful in whatever you measure success with. I measured it in success of rewards as far as awards are concerned, and I measured it in rewards by the financial and the business that I was building for my family and myself, and the quality of life. Now, we all open things for the right and wrong reasons, you know, and I walked up many golf courses with other photographers, and they're going, it's okay for you, isn't it? And I've turned around to them and go, what do you mean? And they go, oh, it's okay for you, you do all this training. And I went, well, I only train on a Thursday. That's it. Every day of the week I'm doing this and this and this. And plus I've got the commercial business as well, and I work 6 days a week. What do you do? Oh, but I can only do 1 session a day. Well, that's your problem, not mine. But if our business is based on 6 a day, Monday to Saturday, that's our business, plus we're shooting weddings, plus we've got a commercial business into the sides for that. So what people think about when I reopen, what you've got to really look at is they're in a totally different place than we are. And if we understand what the client is, so I'm not going to get out there and start kind of, you know, clap for Cleghorn Wednesdays. I'm not saying that all my clients look at me, hey, I'm being a photographer. No, that's not what I'm doing. But if I've done all my job right leading up to this point, I have the opportunity to actually start to work and do what I love and do what I think I do very well. And at the end of the day, you know, what I do, I see as a memory maker of the future. I'm very proud to have portraits hanging on thousands and thousands of walls around the world, and I love that. But what people are going to think is different. And there was, and again, another discussion within the experience group over the past few weeks was porch portraits, where photographers around the world were kind of going for a walk and basically allowed in their hours to walk, whatever it was, and they were photographing people on their doorsteps, and basically they were photographing from the road. And for some, it was, they disagreed with it, and others agreed with it and things really. And I kind of, I found myself in a position of actually listening, which I always tell myself not to, is listening to what other photographers think. And then all of a sudden I convinced myself, in fact, this is really not a good plus here, until I saw a 2.5 minute section on BBC Wales being done about a photographer doing it and how much it was important. That very next day, I picked up my camera, not to take people's photographs on the porch, but in fact to take photographs as a documentary photographer. I realized I had been a bad photographer. I had not taken any photographs because, except to my family at home, we've got the grandchildren staying with us, and I was taking photographs. But I wasn't taking photographs because I thought, if I carry a camera and I'm taking the dog for a walk each day, what am I going to photograph? Well, I photograph people. And if I was doing street photography, I would be going, excuse me, can I take your photograph from six feet, please? Or walking around, whatever it would be. It's your decision. This is your decision, not nobody else's. So whatever else is going on out there in your heart and your head, you have to feel that it's okay for you, and just making sure that social stress doesn't become a part of it because you've perhaps used the wrong words, or you've tried to make it into a bigger flavor than just vanilla, as it were. It's about just kind of keeping your head down and beginning to work again, which is key with obviously the past clients. Will clients have confidence in the new now? That's something I've wanted to know with the focus groups and things really, and that's why we're continuing to do them for the next 4 weeks. And what we've heard so far is yes and no. So in other words, we've got to do everything in our power to make them feel secure. That's key. So much so that just before the lockdown, we began to actually develop a new thing within the experience group called the duty of care and cleanliness. And it was, we've always run a promise of excellence, but we're adding it in to make sure that we're showing the client exactly what procedures are and how they're going to change. And in addition to that, that they can actually see the implementation of these things, whether we're working on location, in our studios, in client's home, or whatever it would be, and things really. But the client's the confidence is going to be led by us. If we are unconfident, if we are hesitant, if we are kind of not quite sure, then that makes it bad for the client. You know, everything I've always tried to achieve in business goals is to be a knight in shining armor. So in other words, be true, be loyal, defend the weak. That's it. And if you do that in your heart, you can actually stand there and make yourself realize that what you do is good. We all make bad decisions. We all make those. My God, I'm not a prince by any means. But what you want to make sure that you're doing is instilling the confidence into your clients of old and clients of new. That is absolutely key, because without you doing that, they are not going to have a confidence to come in. So a part of the new now, or the new as it is the new diary, new procedures, new business practices. You've had chance, you've had time. Fingers crossed you're not going to be knee-jerking on these things. I suppose one of the benefits to belonging to an organization that's like ours is that you pretty much know that we're giving you educated advice based on what we've been putting together, and we're not going to waste time putting it together without actually doing the relevant research within it and so on. So when we start to look at the new diary, there is absolutely no way that if you think that you can start the business up as it was, I think you'd be a very, very foolish business. I was listening to an amazing, just like a radio conversation with the head of the NHS. This is a couple of weeks ago now on BBC and BBC4, and he was saying, look, we've been trying for years to get these hospitals and whatever they're called to implement all these new procedures and so on. He said, we've achieved in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, what we've been trying to get applied for 4 years. There is no way I'm allowing them to go back to their old systems. The people are flowing through hospitals quicker, they're getting seen quicker, they're getting diagnosed quicker. Obviously, the horrendous thing with COVID is a different thing, but it's what's changed everything for us. And in this past 9 weeks, we've had reset time. And we've got to look at when we go back, going back to that original question, a client's going to have the confidence to come back to us. That diary will take a hit. We'll have to probably increase our days of the week to make sure that we're hitting our session targets of the week that we've got planned. But we need to make sure that the client is confident with those things, so they're not going to be crossing over. There's going to be new procedures in place that you've pretty much got ready to go, whatever it would be, and some of you are ahead of the curve and some of you are not. If you're a studio premises like we are here, even though we're a training premises, we still have clients coming in for their shoots and so on. But we've always had sanitization units all over the place, the hand gels and paper towels and the loos and so on. However, we're increasing those, we're increasing the sanitization, we're increasing the systems that we have. We've introduced new protocols for both staff and clients coming through, as well as actually people who are attending workshops in the future. But there has to be procedures in place. That is absolutely key. And what are those procedures going to be for you and your clients? That is number one. I've had one of those months, to be honest, where it seems that I've been writing procedures and documents and kind of trying to stimulate new graphic design in things that we're going to be putting live in front of the public and so on. And I just, my head is really beginning to hurt, because at the end of the day, let's not forget, I'm just a guy like you. I'm a photographer, or I used to be a photographer, and now I'm a mentor and a business director for these businesses that need the direction and the help to actually push through this and to make sure the right things are in place. That's the key thing. Do I enjoy doing these things? No, I don't. Do I get frustrated when they say, oh, you've spelt that wrong, or you haven't done this? Yes, I do, because I know all the hours I've spent doing a project that last 5 minutes, I didn't do a spell check or something stupid. But whatever they are, it's procedures. I think we're going to have new procedures in business, or we should, like an airline pilot, if they ever get back to work, that is, has on landing and takeoff, where they've got their little check boxes that they're going to be ticking as they're going through to ensure that the protocols that have been set, they are following and they're applying each time. The chances are for you getting sued for corporate manslaughter within your business, let's face it, very slim. Yeah, how can they ever prove that they picked up coronavirus from your location, that somebody didn't go shopping, bring it into the home, passed it on to somebody else? It's dire, impossible for them to actually prove that. But by using that as the extreme example, I reverse engineered everything that I recommended that the Experience Group put in place as a new scheme, but I haven't made it compulsory. What I know is the people in the group like me who like all the boxes ticked, they'll do it properly and correctly, and they'll make sure that the client, by seeing it, now actually realizes that they've chosen the right photographer, and that's absolutely key in things. So those new procedures and new business practices as well are things that will change our business forever, and we have to allow it to happen. Do not, I beg you, do not go back to the old business regime, whatever it was that you were doing, you've got the last chances now to really redesign the business that you've wanted to redesign for such a long time with it, including the style of photography, whether you're a boutique business now, moving or trying to move away from kind of the mass market element. Perhaps you've been a photographer that is just going through the paces in photography, and now you actually want to go, you know, I want to take great photographs. Then these are the times for you to be doing it, but they've got to fit in with the new business procedures and protocols as well, of course. There also has to be, like I was saying to you, rewriting all these things. You know, I had to rewrite the new health and safety. Debbie, my wife, is an ex-nurse from many, many moons ago, so she thinks of things as a clinic, but we're not a clinic, we're a small business, and we've got to be, the reality is, people are going to come through us, and somebody's going to sneeze or cough or touch something, and all of these things have just got to be addressed in the same ways that I was saying about the new business practices and protocols. The client also has to adhere to some of these things, and the client has to have some new responsibility, and we have to make sure they know of that. And in fact, you know, when we're looking at this type of client here, maternity client, that is a classic example of one of the most vulnerable that you'll feel. However, treated in the right way, they have to still come through us and have this amazing photographic experience, because that is what they're going to remember. These moments are going to be gone very, very within days for her, but they're going to be gone within weeks or a month for most of our clients coming through in this way with it. But the client responsibility has to be there, and we're not frightened. In the same way, we had terms and conditions on coming into our studio. So if you ever came on a workshop with us, you would be asked to sign a health and safety document. It wasn't so much a waiver, it was just a responsibility. In other words, you know, if we're carrying stuff and we're going on location for a shoot, we're all in this boat together. I'm a big guy and I'm half fit. Well, no, not even fit, okay, but I can't carry you back. I can't stay with you because you broke a leg because you wore the wrong shoes on the location, even though you were told. So this client responsibility is there as well. And I think if we go back to one of the first questions about when is it right to open? Can I open now? What are people going to think? I think when they see all these special things that we are putting in place, that they then realize that it is professional in everything that we're doing, and there should be no backlash in any way at all within things. But the client has to have a responsibility. It's just not down to us, and they are being asked to sign a new client waiver or new document as well within things really. Health and safety, that's changed a little bit with designated zones and sanitization and protocols that I touched on. I can't obviously explain all that. But even the likes of sanitization, let's say you're a location photographer, is it much work for you to carry a hand sanitizer in your camera bag on the side? Does it take you much of an effort to wipe your camera down with a wipe when you finish the session before you put it back in the bag, so you're not bringing something in from outside? You know, these are kind of not only client responsibilities, but they have to be ours as well. And the sanitization and cleaning, yeah, it is a little bit more of a pain in the butt, but it's not a big deal. It's no big deal. I arrive, and the first thing that I do is I go through my morning procedures in the office of wiping things down. And when my team come back to work, I know that I'm probably not going to have a cleaner in straight away, because the cleaner that we had, unfortunately, her little girl is in a very vulnerable group. So we know we probably lost her as our cleaner. I've got to find another one. But it means I'm going to not have one in once a week to actually do the final clean through, when the staff doing the rest of the other things. I might even have to have a cleaner in for once at the end of the night, in addition to all the kind of the cleaning that we're going to be doing after each session or after each visit and so on with it. So there are things, but as a location photographer, it doesn't mean that you should not have responsibility to yourself and to your client in any way at all with it. And I would still encourage you to look at how you sanitize and clean even the location stuff. So we mentioned about kind of staff coming back to work and everything else with it. So they've had to have a new document ready that will be sent out to them a week before they're coming back. But we check in with them on a weekly basis, so they know what we're planning. We know what's going on. We've having to change the studio layout a little bit, so there's no crossover of anybody. I honestly don't know workshop wise what we're going to be doing, when we're going to be doing it, but I realized that not now. I realized it when we were coming close to lockdown, and that's why with the experience group, and when they belong to our community, they basically visit us for several sessions during the course of the year for a 2-day course each time they come down. But I had to move them all to our online course, and so basically we're meeting once a week online now, just for an hour or so and things really. But as far as the workshop elements concerned, I'm not absolutely convinced much through 2021 what we're going to be able to do, but we've already changed things here in the method of what we're going to do if worst case scenario, and that's the kind of games I like to play, is worst case scenarios. So what happens if? I think if you're responsible to your family, your loved ones, on about your partners, your kids, and so on with it. My main fear in life has been to make Debbie vulnerable on my death. So in other words, for finances, for staffing, for premises that we're buying, even though my life insurance is quite big, you know, is that going to be enough for her at a certain age and so on with it? And those are the things that have always worried me. And by playing the game and making sure that the reality is that, you know, if I do this, then there's going to be less risk at the other end. That's what we're trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to do with staff. Even I was chatting with the staff about coming back to work, and whereas 2 of the girls leave and go out for lunch and they come back an hour later on, I'd like them to actually stay in the building for, and we have a quicker lunch, like a half-hour break or whatever it is, if that's okay with them. We'll finish half an hour early at night. But I just don't want things coming back in and out and so on. So staff back to work, studio layout. My wife and I were down here on Saturday, moving all the administration office around. So we've technically lost 2 members of staff desks in that room. We've still got a facility to put at least another one back in there, but everything needs to change, and I'm okay with it. It's when you kind of ignore it and you stick your head in the sand and basically you don't do anything about it. That's the key thing. How are we going to meet and greet clients? Basically, we can't shake their hand. Just before lockdown, Prince Charles must have been drilled into him loads of times. Don't put out your hand to shake their hands, please, sir. Don't put out your hand to shake their hands, please, sir. And what did he do? Twice in a day was put his hand out, and thank goodness the person in front of him had listened to everybody else saying, put your hands behind the back, and even if he shoves out your hand, don't shake his hand. And those are things that we need to retrain ourselves into, is actually the way that you distance yourself with everybody. I know we're already doing it in some way in our life, but this means in the business as well. But with everything that we've just talked about, the customer experience has to be still the most friggin' amazing thing they've ever had in their lives. If they're coming in and we treat it like a clinic, as I mentioned at the beginning, I failed fully. And that's because we haven't played the game. That's because we haven't rehearsed how we're going to say it. That's because we haven't thought about a young child picking up a piece of literature or seeing signs on a wall, or kind of you shying away from him coming close. All those things, they need to be rehearsed and need to be ready, because the experience of having a portrait taken is in fact what it's all about. It's not even about the photograph framed on the wall or whatever it is. That's how they remember the session, they remember the moment, and they remember their time. But the person in the photograph, the people who are involved in that shoot, will remember that photograph through time. It's only people not associated to it, so in other words, the aunts and the uncles who just come to a house and think, oh my God, that's beautiful. They'll just see it and they'll look at the children's faces or the family or whoever. But in fact, the client themselves will remember the experience way beyond actually the photograph itself. Last part then, viewing pictures. Yep, change. It's possibly going to change forever, ever. In-person sales. We've actually just spent the past 2 hours with my experience group in the, it's not technically the first part because we've been doing training on it before, but we've just done it, getting viewing rooms ready for actually online sales. We did over £120,000 in the first few weeks of lockdown through online sales. Averages were not bad, but they were trained to do it. Now imagine somebody who struggled selling photographs, even in a face-to-face level, and they were struggling to get people to spend 50 quid, 100 quid, and so on with it. That has just gone. Your business will not survive the longer term, because if you have to revert to an online viewing of photographs and sales and so on, unless you know how to be selling it, then basically you can't sell. You are allowing the clients to buy, and those are two different things. And there's nothing that we've ever taught within the experience group and Mark Cleghorn Photography is to do with the heavy selling, and that's the last thing I'd ever want kind of coming through. So we need to look at all the ways that we're going to possibly be actually selling to clients in the future, as well as how we're going to be taking their money and how we're going to be delivering their order. And delivering the order, if you're a Loxley Colour customer, in fact, one of the real benefits you have is they have a pure white label delivery. So in other words, I can get products posted directly to the client, and I know there is nothing in there to do with Loxley Colour at all. Once upon a time, we could be able to put in our branding in the box at one stage as well. They used to pop a compliment slip and a card in there for us and put our stickers on the box and things, really. We haven't asked them to do that for a very long time, but there is an option there. But all the things that we've just talked about, as far as the restart plan is concerned, what we've got to look at is, okay, so once we've kind of done all this, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? How's it going to change our business? And when we address these questions, then when should I reopen? As soon as you can. When should I open for? Should I open for business now? If you can get on location and shoot, I'd say yes. What will people think if I do? Then, as long as you're doing it in the right ways and you're keeping to guidelines, you're not going to have a problem. What will people think if I do it on social media? That depends on how much you're posting and what you're showing off, and do you really need to actually show it off, of course. Then your diary, what's it going to look like, and how do I change my diary that was 15 sessions a week to a new diary of 15 sessions a week, and how do I spread that out, and so on. New systems are in place for not just me, the photographer, but for the clients and for my staffing as well. The business practices have got to go hand in hand. The client has to accept some form of responsibility, but they need to know what that responsibility is and what we expect from them. And as far as the health and safety is concerned, as far as the cleanliness and sanitization of the studio, that's absolutely essential for us, of course, to make sure that we're not going to be passing anything on. And so lots of little things there to address. We just need to make sure that we are kind of doing everything we can. And we're in last chance mode now. So for many, you're in last chance to do things, like last chance to network, last chance to add new skills, last chance to be social, last chance to start community marketing, last chance to offer sales, last chance to build your brand, last chance to get PR, last chance to get premises ready, last chance to get past clients booked in, last chance to sort out your studio space. Why? Because you're skint. You're skint. And as soon as they go, door open, get out there and be a photographer. That's where we're at. And so we are in last chance before the restart plan can really kick in. Jay, I'm yours. Questions, mate?
They've been very quiet, unless it's our fault for not telling them to put the questions through to us at the beginning, which maybe I didn't.
So while they're thinking about questions for a minute, then can I ask them to actually put something in the question panel for me, or in the chat question panel it is, isn't it?
Yeah, questions.
Can I ask them to just put positive or negative, okay? And I'm just asking them, as far as think about the photography show in the UK or going to trade events, would you be positive in going, or would you be negative in going? So you can either put positive or yes, or you can put negative or no, okay? So would you still see yourself under the foreseeable future and the social distancing? Would you see it as a positive or a negative? So would you be going to that show, in other words? I'll give you a couple of minutes, and then you can basically start to get your questions into us as well and things.
Okay.
So just while you're doing that,
go on.
Sorry, mate.
I was going to say there's a couple of questions now. We've put them in there. So
great. Whilst you're doing that, remember, if you're a Loxley's customer, Loxley Colour customer like I am, they are technically open at present, and you can order online as normal now. So a couple of weeks ago, they went into a skeleton staffing just to actually get all the back orders that were placed just before lockdown or just during lockdown. And obviously the Welsh government, like the Scottish government and the Irish government, were much stricter on us in what we could do and what we couldn't do, as well as manufacturing. And Loxley's were obviously, for their staff safety, made to close down. But they are in operation. The only thing I would say is just add a couple of days extra onto the delivery. Because they deliver stuff so fast as a rule, then I would just make sure that you're basically allowing yourself just that little bit more time. They've got some events on their schedule here. I'm not sure if those are going to kind of go ahead with the Society's Roadshow, but I would check up with them independently. Obviously, the newborn show should have been on at present. I doubt if that is running in any way, but if it is, it'd be a miracle. But I'm interested in the social interactivity of whether workshops or kind of going to trade events. What's the kind of the comments coming through on that so far, Jay? I wish we could have run a poll. I meant to ask you to do it, in fact.
It's, to be honest, heavily no.
Yeah.
There's a few literally, when I say a few, it's less than a handful of yeses. The majority is just not until they can prove its safety. Most people who have put more than no have put not until there's a vaccine or some kind of, so heavily no, mate. Literally less than 5 have said yes. I think it's only 3.
What's weird is I put a post on the Photographer Academy website on Sunday or Saturday, I can't remember when, and we had no reaction to it. It was like people were worried to say yes or no. And I was a little bit disappointed in that, because I think for these big players, I mean, we used to spend about 17 grand a year, Jay, didn't we, go into the photography show as a stand there and everything else with it for Photographer Academy and so on. And to be honest, for us, it kind of dried up when it moved from being Focus on Image into the photography show. Their database wasn't as strong. Most of the database that we were collecting was still data that we had, so it really wasn't worth us going along. And yes, you know, as a demonstrator, it's nice to get up on stage. It's nice to meet people that I'm lucky to brush shoulders with, or we chat on photo critiques. You know, I'm lucky enough that we've been in very great relationships with Loxley Colour and the Flash Centre and so on. We've done stuff with them, including some other product manufacturers over the years and things, and we've been able to kind of give away free t-shirts. We've used it more of a PR thing, isn't it, Jay? But yeah, we walk around that show and we've often said, what are we going for? Because it's not as exciting as it once was, and whether it's because we're getting old in the tooth or whatever it is, but we stopped going as a stand, and to be honest, we even almost stopped going to just visit. But I can't see me stood on a stage. Not that I'm worried. Look, I'm an old bloke, as I call myself, on stage. I'm a dinosaur, yeah? And at some stage, I'm going to be extinct. But before I'm extinct, I'm going to make sure I leave an impression in other businesses. Not me. I'm not worried about the Mark Cleghorn name. I'm worried about the quality of photography being better at the end of my career than it was at the beginning of my career. And those are the things that I set a mission to do, and I'm lucky to be able to be doing that. But when you see how much money is being spent at these trade events, it's going to be very, very hard for the likes of the big companies to actively get in front of us with all their product ranges and so on, and with all the social distancing that we know is in it for the long term. It's 18 months here, isn't it? Let's face it. And when we look at the photography show, you know, I can't see the Wookiees and the Jedi coming down the corridor anymore. Jay, can you?
No, I think even the big trade shows. I mean, I'm presuming at the moment, even with the likes of the NEC and, you know, having so many halls, that I think they would have to be separated to an extent that they wouldn't be able to have, you know, the sci-fi show in one hall and next door the photography show. I'm guessing, but it would be an absolute nightmare to police the safe distancing, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So, you know, there'd be a lot more security, a lot more staffing, I guess, to direct people. And yeah, those are the things that I don't think will be able to happen. Even,
yeah,
you think about a stage in the photography show. How would we do that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, let's face it, I'm a fat old bloke. I'm vulnerable. And it means that I'm not worried about, yeah, I don't want to die, but I'm not worried about dying. Like I was saying, I'm worried about leaving my loved ones behind in some kind of bad position, but that's my job to make sure I'm not, and things really. But it is an interest. I asked a couple of weeks ago on one of the photo critiques, in fact, really, have we got photo critique for this week?
Yeah, it's on Thursday, 5 o'clock.
Oh, cool. Remind about the end then, about how they upload images and things.
Okay.
But yeah, I asked if we wanted to do a bit of a kind of a night, you know, just the chat and everything else with it, and not just all about me chopsing away, because I get chops away a lot. But I'm interested in you. I'm not sure if that makes me different, but I'm interested in you and what your views are, and not kind of, you know, there's too many people in our industry that are paid to tell you what other people are telling them to tell you, and that's not what I'm about. It's about, you know, we're in this together, we get on with it. But I'm interested to actually hear about, like, I was gutted when we diversified here. I do apologize. I was just about to say about the 3 guys that invited me onto their podcast, and none of them have picked up a camera in 6 weeks. Anyway, back to the point, Jay. I'll shut up now. Yeah, right, questions, go for it.
Right. What are your feelings in this new environment about shoot and view on the same day?
If you're set up for it, yes, and as long as you've got the opportunity to make your image as good as you can. So if I could have done it as a wedding photographer in the days of the film years, where we used to leave the wedding at the end of the breakfast, assistant would have already actually gone back with the first bunch of films, and we used to shoot around about 1,200 images in the good old days of film, including 35mm and 120. But by 8 o'clock that night, we would actually be back with a full-on slideshow with music to present to the client, using Kodak carousels and blah, blah, blah. And that was in duplicating negative into slide and so on. So if you become a true camera craftsman and you stop using post-production for the wrong reasons, I've got no reasoning at all why you shouldn't be doing a same day, same session viewing, as long as you're not showing them shit. If you show them shit, they don't buy it. That's it. Quick as that. They can show it on their iPhone, stick it on a Snapseed app, and they're better than what you're showing them. And remember, the first thing is about business is people have got to want your product. And if they see a product that they don't want, they just don't buy it.
Well, we've got a couple of questions that the answer will be to. I'll ask them, but then give the answer to save you there. Where the answer for me is, go back and see the previous webinars in this series if you haven't. The first one was, you know, anything that wedding photographers can do right now. I think that was session 2, wasn't it?
Watch session 2.
Yeah,
I plead with you, get off this in a minute. When we finish, go on to the academy. If you haven't got a membership, there's the free offer. Just go and flip and watch it. And session 2 will give you a complete guide to what to do.
Yeah. And then staying on the same basis, the good suggestions for, I'm always terrible with these kind of words, diversification. I think I got that right.
Hey, that's big for you,
that's
mate.
Not bad though, is it? I think I got it right. I'm not even going to attempt it a second time. But again, we talked about that not only in that session too, actually with the wedding photographers, but we've touched on it in quite a few of these sessions about other. And again, you've mentioned it today. You know, what you're allowed to do can determine, you know, what you'd be shooting at the moment. So, so that's you know the key thing with diversification. I've done it twice now. Look, check it out. I'm not going to try a third time.
Yeah, and thanks. So somebody said, yes, you are a dinosaur. They can't even
No.
spell dinosaur.
It was our friend. No, it wasn't. You misread it. It's our friend Brett Florence is on with us, and he said you're not a dinosaur.
No, he said Hargian. No, there was another one earlier on and saying, yeah, you are a dinosaur, and they separated the word.
Okay, I must have deleted that one.
Anyway.
I thought Brett was being really nice to you because I would have said, yeah, you are a bit of a dinosaur.
Look, diversification isn't difficult. Look at Burger King. Oh God, I'd kill for a Burger King right now. No, I wouldn't. You know, it's just a burger. What diversification can Burger King do? Try and look at the big players and think about it from their perspective. How are they going to open up? How are they going to change the way that they work in? Can we do a takeaway service with it? So if you read after the bull that is online about, oh, learn to train your clients in photography, it's a load of rubbish. You're never going to earn enough money from it to replace what you do. Focus in on what you are excellent at. If you're not excellent at it, learn to become excellent at it. That's the first thing. The next thing is, if you can't shoot what you're allowed to shoot something else, whatever it would be. So for instance, if you're a baby photographer as of today, you're going to be limited for a good couple of weeks or months before you can take a baby photograph. But if you can actually photograph a baby, can you do a headshot? Can you shoot on location? There is always diversification. The one thing I'll advise you at present, though, okay, is don't get lured in with commercial photography. So speaking as an owner or past owner of a very large commercial business, you're going to be carrying debt. And the one thing that small businesses, medium businesses and large businesses are not going to be doing for at present is paying you on time. So they might make you quite busy getting some photography, in other words, being done, but in fact, you're probably going to wait for a very long time to get paid and things. And that is going to cause you more head stress than anything else with it. Once you're into the dynamic of clients paying you on 30 days or 60 days, you are used to the cash flow. When you're a portrait photographer or a wedding photographer and you're used to instant cash being paid, it's very hard to actually realize that you're shooting today, but you're not going to get paid for 60 days. And that 60 days is really could be the business closure or not. You know, we talked about the bounce back loans if you've got the business. I obviously can't give you advice telling you to take it, but if I was in your position as a studio owner or working from home, as long as I'm not using it to pay my salary, as long as I'm not using it to pay debt, as long as I can put the bounce back loan in an account and it's there for a rainy day, in other words, second pandemic, which is going to happen whether we like it or not, and our businesses are going to be closed for a little bit longer. It's about putting it away for a rainy day, but don't do it for the wrong reasons. Did I answer that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, next, go.
Okay, the last question, apart from some about experience, did you I didn't hear you say this, but maybe you did, that you thought that, I presume, full family portraits you thought were 18 months away. Is that what you said?
No, I think if we follow the closest I've heard to a positive to do with groups, multi-generation we've definitely got a problem with, because the grey pound, which is me, all right, technically my sister, Jay's mum, they haven't left the house now in how long, Jay?
As soon, it wasn't before lockdown, as soon as they said that anybody in the vulnerable category should isolate. So probably, I think it was 2 weeks,
February,
before lockdown. So
yeah, there you go. So, and they're not due out until end of June, end of July or something like that, isn't it?
Well,
I still
I know
think,
initially they were told, well, there you go, they must have been close to actual 3 months already of isolation, because Mum had it on her calendar and I crossed it off saying no chance, which was only like a week or two away, where, you know, their
okay.
3 month period. She knows that was what she put right at the beginning. It's not now how she feels now. So
So,
they've
so
been
the
out
biggest
at least
problem
three
I've got
months.
is mixed generation marketing. I've really got to go after the more younger generation. But the closest that I can see with positivity, and this isn't, you know, this is news that is available out there, is Northern Ireland basically giving the heads up to do with groups of 10 and 12. So that really opens up when they do, and obviously when our doors are open as well, that 10 to 12 people can actually mix in a group. That's the key thing. That is the key thing for us as family photographers. At present, I can only meet one-on-one. So in other words, I can't photograph a 16-year-old because she would still need to be with her mother. And it's too close, and then we are breaking the law as such, really. Whereas the social distancing is a guideline. The social distancing is a law, and the amount of people together is a guideline. So it's different things, but I still think we're going to see probably July or August before families are really kind of coming through our doors.
Mate, I think that's it. I think, to be clear though as well, obviously all of these things that we're talking about are based on you and all of us following, you know, what the government is allowing us to do. You know, people are asking us to give our guesses, but we're not guessing. This is what it is, isn't it?
Okay, so I've just seen one question come through there for a minute. So in theory, we could shoot a portrait session in a local park with a family, e.g. mum and dad and 2 kids from the same household. No, not at present, you can't. Sorry, I just saw that coming through.
Well, that's literally just come through, mate.
Okay, I'm gonna just put a big exclamation mark on the end of there. No.
Well, that isn't what but that isn't what the guidelines say, is it? You can still only meet a certain
one-to-one.
Yeah. So yeah.
So a family can go out together, but I can't meet them. The dad could separate off, and I could speak to the dad. The mum could separate off, and I could speak to the mum, but I can't speak to the mum and the dad.
And that's all I was saying, that is that we're following clearly what the different regions, or, you know, Wales, Scotland, England, Ireland, are saying that we can and can't do, and that's all we can advise. And as you said, I'm not going to say it, but diversify based on the information that we're being given by our governments and following their guidelines, and ultimately, you know, trying to keep this thing at bay, isn't it? The best we can.
Yeah.
Oh, you touched on this. This must have been a late person joining. They've asked about, you know, the doorstep shoots, but we did cover that at the beginning of the session, wasn't it? So.
It is, but they're basically not coming out of their house to meet you. So they're actually on their own doorstep, and you're at the end of their drive or path.
That's all of my questions, with the exception of some asking for more information on the experience, because you've touched on it a few times today.
Thanks. So good. The good news is things are going to be not as bad as I make them out to be. But the reality is what we just went through. There's no bullshit that I've just given to you. There's nothing there that is false in my opinion under any circumstances. We have just gone through that kind of straightness. Now, if you like that, you're going to get on with the experience. If you don't like that, then basically it's definitely not going to be for you anyway. I suppose when we began to actually go into the lockdown, we began to actually look at what use is the experience for photographers in lockdown. And I didn't know before lockdown. I just knew what we had planned for them in lockdown and what they were going to be doing. And I think anybody in the experience group who felt that they were going to be sat on their arses for 3 months, not doing anything during the lockdown, they completely realised that they've been very, very busy and doing many, many things, and we've kept the trickle of income coming through to many of them through the kind of the ideas and things that we put in place for them and so on. But those are exceptional circumstances. In exceptional circumstances, things always have to change. And the main thing is, if you have to change, or if you want to change, we've got systems there. That's the key thing with it. I'll just quickly go through the slides, all right? But again, it's really down to what you need from us more than anything else. We try and keep it as clear as you can. You know, I'm a pretty straight shooter. I'm not one of the false prophets. In other words, people who just they just regurgitate what others are saying, or there's no kind of solidity behind them. And as far as the elements are concerned, in a normal time, we have a six-week plan that once you put in place, you're pretty much just, you're catching up for the whole year with all the other group. But in 6 weeks, if you just get out of the way, you can pretty much put things in place, and then we'll actually have that 14-week plan to actually really make sure that you're ready to start your photography business from scratch, or a new beginning, or whatever it would be, and things really. And pretty much, we've even had photographers joining us within a couple of weeks. They've actually had clients coming through the door, and the triggers and the campaigns that we run and things really. We're all going to have to take our business in a new direction. We discussed that during the whole of these kind of past weeks. And trust is something I don't take lightly, and I would ask you not to give it as well. Trust is, I've got to make you trust in me, because the advice that I'm giving you, I need you to apply as soon as we can. Obviously, everybody's so different. Until people join, I really don't need, I don't get to know their finances or family positions or whatever it is, and so on with it. And it can be, you know, even a bit of a slow start or a slow burner on some of those things as well with it. At present, we're just short of 100 photographers. Obviously, we only run a 12-month contract anyway. So during the different start points during the year, basically we usually have way over 100 photographers in the end of December. It's just actually during the course of the year and things really, people have been with us for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and things really as well with it. We still try and encourage the creativity. That is absolutely key. As I mentioned to you, excellence and creativity, and showing the client that great photographs really are great and they're different from what they take themselves, is what actually will make a client buy. And I'm more interested in the everyday photography quality than they are kind of the once-a-year awards. However, we do have our once-a-year awards, but they're also mimicked with our consumer awards that actually go hand in hand. And so in the last entrance, just a week or two ago, we had 2,500 images in for the last, or the second round of the judging for the year. Out of that, 200 and a few, so just short of 10% went through to the five finals. And that's not through lip service, that is because they're excellent images. And obviously from there now they get a good chance to actually kind of sing and dance about things as well. Fight or flight. I say that we're in your the corner, and at times I honestly wish we weren't, because we take too much on. And we take it on our own shoulders with it, and it doesn't mean that you don't, but often we take it to heart and we go, well, why haven't you applied this? Why aren't you doing what we're suggesting? And then we hear, oh, I haven't had a chance to get around to doing that yet, and basically you're breaking stuff before you get going. But this is a time, I think, where we know we're going to lose so many businesses before restart or in the first few weeks. We know that. Banks are obviously going to be very cautious on foreclosing on anybody, but we want to make sure that you're in this. That's the key thing. But if you're using it as an excuse to close your business down, if we ever meet, don't talk about it. I'm not interested in it, okay? I'm interested in those who fight, even if you fail. And that is absolutely essential that we understand from ourselves with that as well. And how we kind of develop the business, we've had to change. So lucky enough, in January, we launched our online option for overseas, or for those who couldn't get to us. And thank goodness we did, because we already had a product that we had to move. So we lost a huge amount of money because we basically moved everybody, which was our community membership, into an online membership with us and things, really. But that's what we needed to do. We couldn't just put the prices up on everybody else to kind of make up for it and things, really. So as far as how we kind of change things, it's essential for us. And I mentioned before, we've launched unsafe businesses during our career. Our studios have not stopped while this has been going on. Inertia is one of the key words we use within Experience, and to actually keep things moving, it doesn't matter how slow or fast things are going, we need the things turning over. I mentioned I've just got off 2-hour training session today on virtual sales training, and this isn't the first one. We did this just before the lockdown, and that's why, by giving them the basic training to get them selling online, that we turned over so much money kind of during that period. These are not my words, these are somebody else's, but probably you need us more than ever before, and only you will know that in so many ways. The group, the Experience group as a whole, they're unlike any social media community you've ever met. They are more family than you could ever imagine, to the point there are times they take the mickey out of each other a little bit too much, and they do upset each other in that way, but it's not because mine's bigger than yours, or this is the way you should be doing it, or whatever it is and things, really. It's because they get too close to each other, and we have a really great community. As you're aware, graphics we do in-house. We've produced over 400 graphic assets. In fact, I bet we've hit 600 from when this slide was done. We have created so much activity for the group as a whole. We've had, I think we had one studio that went from 1,000 likes to 6,000 likes without a penny being spent, just through one of the activities that we put in place. And again, it's just about the right times to be doing the right things. And we've seen people knee jerk on kind of different elements and so on with it. Recovery is going to be the essential part. It's going to be the hard part. In fact, that's what I'm working with now with the group for this week and next week. Obviously, I can encourage them to get back shooting as soon as they can, but it's really up to them whether they're going to do it or not. Support, I think, is going to be more important than ever before. I've made myself available every single day of the week, or saying that a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Thursday by design, but socially, some things on a Monday and a Friday as well. But again, it's essential for us to keep the structure in place. I've been around the place a very long time, but it doesn't mean I know what tomorrow is going to bring. And I promise with the group, I'm not talking about our averages until January, because we don't know what the new averages are going to be or how they're going to play their point. But the marketing that we've got planned and what is going to be put into place and things, really, it's a plan. That's the key thing. We want to put money in your pocket as soon as we can, even with the downturn economy that we're expecting. And of course, whether you're looking to grow your business, you'll definitely add 100 plus, if not hundreds of sessions to your business before the end of the year, as long as we're allowed to actually trade and things, really. Jay's our social media guy. He tells you how to spend the money, where to spend it and why. The assets that we produce are obviously not just for us, but they're also kind of things that you can kind of use, and then obviously things for you to self-brand as well as our video marketing. We've still got Loxley's and Kaleidoscope and Fundy, and then Fold and the Flash Theatre as our partners. You get £750 to spend on specific product. Straight away as soon as you join with Loxley Colour and Kaleidoscope. So if you are strapped for cash and you need new stuff for the walls, that's a perfect example of being able to actually join up and basically get your actually products for the wall in quicker. And of course, lead generation is dispersed throughout the group for free. We don't charge for those, and anything that we're doing on a national scale and so on. Yeah, so basically, as far as what we do is concerned, it's different for each business, but you usually join us because you want more business or you want to earn more money. The things that have changed, obviously, we've had to remove any of the face-to-face sessions now, and that is it. We're only operating an online experience until at least the end of the year, and then obviously depends on social distancing and what we're allowed to do. We'll be, fingers crossed, we'll be switching back the community membership back in 2021 at some stage. Even if it's just getting together, you know, so I pretty much know our awards couple of days will not happen for this year, but I've still booked a massive place, and if we all want to get together for one day just to announce the awards and we can kind of clap each other, then we're going to be doing that. But I'm only going to be doing it if I feel it's safe, because that's my responsibility to the group. It's just not about doing things for the sake of things. That's me done. Jay, any questions?
The specific questions was some more information today, more than anything very specific about the experience group. Obviously, just to reiterate that if you are interested or you'd like to know more, as Mark's put on the screen there, get in touch. The best thing to do is email, as it says there, Laura, who's our business development manager, laura@theexperience.co.uk, because she'll arrange the phone call with you directly. Alternatively, that number will get you through to the office, but you'll need to leave a message, and then I can get Laura in touch with you. So the information is in the chat panel. Plus the follow-up email that you'll get from us tomorrow will have all of Laura's details in the contact information there on that. And as you said to mention earlier about the rest of the webinars that we have this week, so we do have Nigel Foster, our landscape photographer, is back with us tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, continuing his series. Tomorrow it's all about long exposures in landscape photography. Thursday night, Mark and I, well, Thursday evening, 5 o'clock, we've got our next photo critique. So as Mark mentioned, if you are an Academy member, then you do need to be a member to submit an image, but you don't need a member to watch. So if you go to the Live Academy page, you can register just to watch, but log in to submit an image. I think Mark's going to do that live. There we go. And go to the photo critique page and you will find the upload box. Please follow the instructions though on the size of the image. Please no watermarks or copy marks. It is anonymous when you upload the image to critique. So 5 o'clock that is with us. And speaking about our friends at Loxley, they also sponsor the photo critiques. So it's not a competition. Mark does choose his top 10, which he then whittles down to his top 5 of each session. And I play the game of trying to figure out which of the top 5 he's going to pick, albeit last week or the week before last. In what, 10 years, 10 years or 11 years of doing it, he decided to reveal the top 10 by accident at the beginning. So that was quite impressive. None of us quite knew what he went on until he twigged what he'd done. So that's quite, so you can go and watch, and we've left it all in there in the recording, so it's quite amusing. Friday, from requests from the members, Mark is on again at 12 o'clock, and we're going to do a session on shooting the nude. So if you are under 18,
I get to talk photography.
You get to talk photography, you do indeed.
I used to talk about photography. I never get to talk about photography anymore.
In all fairness, you're the boss. You can do what you like. You just got to tell me when you're going to do it. So
yeah, but they don't want to hear from me. I'm a dinosaur.
Yeah, okay, dinosaur. So we're going to possibly, or we might be able to gauge it here. You've talked about talk photography for a bit now, and we're thinking about bringing that back. So more discussional type meetings with our members. Talk photography with the dinosaur, then it should be renamed or something like that. So maybe coming soon.
Stick it in the question panel. Anybody wants to have a talk photography night? Go on, stick it in the question panel. If nobody says
yes,
talk photography.
Well, Irene said yes, so we're doing it now. So we've got one person.
There's only one. It's not enough.
No, here we go. There you go. You've started it.
No, it's too slow.
Yes. Everything's a yes. Okay. Well, we need to discuss that anyway, because I'm working on the webinar program this week for the next few weeks. Anyway, so we'll see what happens with that.
We've never done a chat. I wouldn't know how to do it.
Well, we've said we're going to adjust. We've got the other platform now, isn't it? Go to meetings, so we might have to adapt things. Or, I don't know. We'll just wing it. We're quite good at winging it.
Yeah, we'll just wing it. Just as long as we've all got a Coke or beer in our hand, it'll be all right, won't it?
Yeah. We are, because of the bank holiday, there is no survival guide next Monday. We are having a day off, but it'll be back then the week after. But all of the free webinars can be found on the page that Mark is showing you now. So if you go to the Photography Academy, you click the live events page and you can find the full program there, and you just click on what you want to sign up for, and it will send you reminders on the day as well. Yeah, everybody's saying, and people are starting to leave us now, Mark, but you've opened it up now, so we need to figure out this talk photography thing. I'm going to get you a new headshot. That dinosaur done. I'll have to have a word with Lee, I think. Right, let's go. Thanks, guys. Stay safe, everybody. As I said, back tomorrow night if you want to join me for Landscapes with Nigel and Photo Critique on Thursday night and Friday lunchtime, shooting the nude with Mark. He's not going to be the nude. He's going to talk about.
No, and we're not shooting the nude. We're discussing one of the best.
Yeah, we're not. There's no shooting involved at all on that. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. See you all soon. Bye now.
Take care, everybody. See you all soon. Thanks again. Thanks, Jay.